today I'm going to review the Makita XSH01 36-volt circular saw. Now this is using two of the 18-volt LXT batteries to create 36 volts, and I gotta tell you, it has an extreme amount of power and runtime. Now really, out of any cordless saw, this is going to have the maximum amount of cuts in between charges, and we've done a ton of different testing with this. Now I've also used it doing different projects, and on this saw already I have easily in over 1,000 cuts. It's had no problems, it has not stalled out or overheated one time. Now what I've actually done is recorded a lot of that so you can see the actual real-world runtime testing that you're going to get out of this. We did runtime testing on 2x material as well as OSB plywood, and I tell you what, it just blew anybody else right out of the water. Now what I want to do in this video is show you all the different features of this, and then we're going to see it actually being used. Now to go over the different features of the saw before we actually start our runtime testing. Now the blade guard as well as the shoe is going to be made out of magnesium, and then the motor housing is going to be made out of hard plastic. Now on the handle you're going to see this black portion, that's actually a soft rubber to give you a better grip on everything. And then underneath right here is where you're going to put the two different batteries. Now you'll see they'll slide in side by side, and the two 18-volt batteries is going to create the 36 volts it takes to power the motor. Now when you need to change the blade, at the base of the handle they have an onboard storage for the hex key that you're going to need to loosen up that nut. Now for making long or consistent straight cuts, Makita does include this blade guide for free. It is going to slide right in the shoe, and then in order to tighten it up they have this large knob here that you can just tighten down with your other hand. Now you can go along plywood or along boards. This is going to ride along the edge and you'll be able to do a nice clean cut every time. And then to adjust the bevel, there's a lever right here you're going to pull up, and then the shoe will turn to the side up to 50 degrees for angled cuts. And finally on the back of the unit there's a lever right here we can pop up, and then the shoe will pivot up and down. This will allow you to set the correct depth of your cut. Now because this does have a full-size 7 1/4 inch blade, the maximum cut depth that we can go is 2 5/8 inches. So if you're dealing with some thick material or multiple layers, it's going to be able to go through that with no problem. Now if you use this saw extensively, eventually you may need to service the brushes. Now Makita did make that very easy to do. Rather than having to tear the whole saw apart, they did put two access ports on both sides of the motor, and you can see the little round cap right here. Now using just a standard flathead screwdriver, you can line it up with the slot and then unscrew that cap. And once the cap comes completely out, you'll be able to see the brush underneath. Now this is one brush right here. There's going to be an identical one on the other side. You can take the flathead screwdriver, put it under the edge, and then the brush is going to pop right out. Now looking at this brush, it has over 1,000 cuts on it and still looks almost brand new. So really these should last you tens of thousands of cuts. And then if you ever do need to replace them, I looked up a set of these brushes online and they're like $3 or $4. So it really costs next to nothing to replace them. And then changing them out literally may take you 30 seconds or a minute. So it really is easy to do. Anybody can do it. And when you do change them, it's going to restore the power of the motor back to how it was when it was brand new, fresh out of the box. I just put two fully charged 4.0 amp hour batteries on here as well as a brand new blade, and what we're going to do is cut through 2x4s to see how many cuts we can get before the saw will run out of power. Finally died. What we're going to do is go ahead and count these up now to see how many cuts it made through standard 2x4s. 443 cuts through a 2x4 before the batteries finally died. So because there are 2 batteries, that's going to come in at 221.5 cuts per battery charge. Or like I said, because it did have 2 batteries, we got 443 cuts before it finally died, which is just absolutely unbelievable. I had bought 8 2x4s and we used every bit of them. Now we're going to do some more runtime testing with the Makita and a brand new fresh blade to see how many cuts we can get through 7/16 OSB before the batteries finally die. Okay, the circular saw finally ran out of power. Now I'm going to go ahead and count all those strips to see how many cuts we got through of 7/16 OSB. It made it fully through 129 cuts, and then finally on the 130th cut, the batteries finally died. So now you've seen Makita's full-size 36-volt circular saw for yourself. This thing has a tremendous amount of power and runtime. We were able to get 443 cuts through 2x4s, and then 129 cuts through that 7/16 OSB. Now to put that in perspective, if you took all the OSB we cut and stacked it end on end, it would add up to be almost 1/10 of a mile we were able to get through before the batteries finally died. So this is really going to last you all day long on just one charge. Now because this is using the 18-volt LXT batteries, these are going to be compatible with over 100 other Makita tools in the 18-volt LXT lineup. Now, a few things I want to point out as far as problems people may have with this. The number one complaint people are going to have as far as getting used to this is going to be the trigger lock. Now, this is a safety lock built in, just like really any other circular saw that's cordless. You must press this down and then pull the trigger. You cannot just pull the trigger and have this cut on like a standard corded saw. So that is going to take a lot to get used to initially. But once you have it down, it's not going to be a problem anymore. It does not have an LED light on the front, so if you're in a low light situation, it's not going to have anything that's going to light up your path. And then finally, there is not a battery fuel gauge on this. There are LED battery indicator lights that will tell you when the batteries are low or out of power, or if they overheat, but it does not have a status gauge. Now, really, when you factor in how many cuts you can get, that's really not a problem because it will really last you all day long. But you cannot look down at the saw and see that maybe you have a 50% charge or a 20% charge. It will actually turn red and start blinking when it's out of power. But if it's green, it's going to have plenty of power to get the job done. Now there's also a little temperature meter on here. If you see that flashing, it does mean that you overheated it. But really, with all the testing we did, cutting through the non-stop 2x4s and then non-stop OSB, plus the projects we did, we never had a problem with it overheating one time. Now, it does have a 3-year warranty through Makita, so if you ever do have problems with it, they are going to fix that for you. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.